In this video, we'll be reviewing some of the more advanced and quantitative features in EMG+. This video starts where the basic video left off, so if you haven't watched the basic EMG+ video yet, watch that first before watching this video. In this video, we're going to be going over multi-MUP analysis and interference pattern analysis and recruitment analysis or firing rate analysis. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is multi-MUP analysis. So we were talking about in the basic video how in volitional mode, immediately while you stick a needle, you're getting an immediate quantification of a motor unit. So that's really nice to have, because when you stick a needle, you can see without much work whether that needle or whether that motor unit is within normal range or not, in amplitude or duration or whatever statistic you want to look at. But that's not really very representative of the entire muscle. So if you're really going to use that quantitative data to make your diagnosis, you really want to sample different motor units within that muscle in different areas of that muscle to see if that abnormality is across the whole muscle, or maybe it was just one or two motor units that are abnormal. So the reference limits are all based on sampling, typically of 20 or more motor units. So just taking one motor unit and saying that that muscle is abnormal because one motor unit showed abnormalities compared to the reference limit isn't really accurate. So what I'm going to show is how in volitional mode you can do a multi-MUP analysis and what different features and functions you have available. I'm leading up towards auto-MUP mode, which is a much more efficient way to collect motor units for multi-MUP analysis, but I'm going to go through volitional mode because it's much easier to explain what we're doing in auto-MUP mode when you see what we do manually in volitional mode. So to start with, I'm going to show you how to collect a motor unit and add it to a larger group of motor units for analysis. So it's actually quite nice because we had this trigger running and it automatically selected this motor unit, and when we paused it, it averaged that motor unit for us, and all we have to do is hit plus, and there we've selected and stored that motor unit for analysis later on. I'm going to go ahead and continue recording here, and here a second motor unit just came in, and we'll let that record for a second and then stop. So now we have the second motor unit. We have a nice average of it. We can see it's a nice average sampling of that motor unit. You can click and drag and exclude some of these if you care, but remember the white ones are the only ones that are actually contributing to the average. So if they're not white, don't worry about them showing up here. But you can click and drag a box in here if you want to. But again, so there's a second nice representation of motor unit. I'm going to hit plus and add that to my MUP analysis. Now where these are going is in view 2. So I'm going to push view 2, or view on the base unit, or push the view button here. And in view 2, we have set up a MUP overview window to show the different motor units. We have a results table to show all the results of those different motor units. And then we also still have a live trace window as well as the average MUP window. So if you're going to be doing multi-MUP analysis in volitional mode, I would probably use a view similar to this so you don't have to keep switching back and forth. So I'm going to stay in view 2 for doing this multi-MUP analysis in volitional mode. And again, it's somewhat manual, because which is nice in some ways because it's allowing you to decide which motor units are included in the results. First thing I'd want to do is clean up this results table to the information that I really care about. So it's very easy to do. You can just click and you can check or uncheck whatever information you don't want. So let's just, for the sake of simplicity, we're just only interested in duration and amplitude, and firing rate is all we're going to record. And over here, we don't really care much about z-score, and maybe we don't really want to look at standard deviation right now. So now we've really simplified the data to show duration, amplitude, and firing rate of an individual motor unit, and then we're also seeing mean, max, and min of all the MUPs and all the non-polyphasic MUPs. And then in this corner here, we see how many MUPs are collected compared to what percentage of those are polyphasic and how many of them are polyphasic. So we've collected 2 motor units now. Now we're going to collect a couple more motor units. So we're just going to go readjust the needle to a different portion of the muscle, and I'm going to do that by just picking a different buffer. And then we're going to record some more. So here we've readjusted the needle. We're now collecting a couple of different motor units. Now in this case, sometimes the motor units are so close in size that the trigger doesn't do a very good job of isolating one motor unit from the other. Now in this case, it looks like it's getting a pretty good motor unit here, but you can see in the window, this is actually averaging both of these motor units together because they're the same size. So this is where the auto analysis software really comes in EMG+. you don't need the trigger at all for some of this stuff. And in fact, I'm just going to turn it off from here on out. So I'm going to turn off the trigger because I don't care about it. And because I'm collecting a lot of mode units. So now all I have to do is collect a mode unit, and manually I can just click and drag, and there I've selected the duration of the mode unit and also selected that mode unit for analysis. If I like it, I'm going to hit plus, and that added that mode unit to the MUP overview window here. The reason why I knew I liked it is when I clicked and dragged a box around it, over here I saw there were 89 samples of it, and I saw the statistics of it. You can still adjust the durations if you want to. And then here's a second mode unit here that I may want to use, or I may want to scan through there and see if there's any other better representations of that mode unit. So it looks like that's definitely a second mode unit. You can just click on that mode unit. The reason why I like to click and drag is it's allowing me to pick both the duration of the mode unit manually without it selecting there. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag, and I'm going to say that's the mode unit right there. Oops. So you click and drag, and then before you move your mouse away, you're going to click plus if you want to keep it. And I'm going to keep that one because it had 74 samples of it. It looks like a nice average, and now I've collected 4 mode units. Okay, so you can see how we're adding to our pile of mode units. We don't have to go this slow, obviously. It's actually pretty quick. Once you're in this mode now, we can go back and readjust the needle. Okay, so I'm readjusting the needle to a different position, and start recording. And then once you, and again, you don't want too many mode units to be firing, or the analysis software is not going to be able to pick them up. So you really want a very slight recruitment here, so you just get 3 or 4 mode units firing. But there we have a good sample of data. Now let's say we saw some good mode units firing, but only in a section of this. So what we can do is just pick the section of the buffer we want to analyze, and do an auto analyze. So the nice thing about this, I'm kind of moving up from really manual mode to very automated mode. So this button here will auto-analyze the entire buffer. So just by clicking this, you'll see that it went through and it found 3 different mode units. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And it added those 3 mode units to my MUP overview table. So now we have 7 MUPs, one of which was polyphasic, and we have results that are a good average across that muscle. Okay? Now we're going to keep adding more. So I've done that. Now all I have to do is readjust the needle, which I'm going to do digitally here. And again, record some nice data and just get enough data so you'll have a good sampling of those mode units. A lot of people just do 10 seconds worth, some people do 20 seconds worth, so you can kind of just time, once you have a nice steady mode units firing, just count to 10 and then stop it. Now you may find that you record a lot of data, but you just want to analyze a portion of that data just for accuracy's sake. So you can just click and drag a box just like you did before to zoom in on just a portion of that data. And now I'm going to click Analyze, and it's just analyzing that one section of data. And again, it found 3 mode units, 3 more mode units that's added to our results. So now we've collected 10 mode units. So you can see how this actually goes pretty quick. You just you can use a foot switch to run and stop. So you just stick the needle, run it. Once you have some nice mode units firing, pause with either the foot switch or the run stop, and then click the Analyze button, and it's going to grab the mode units that are in that bucket or in that buffer and add them to our overview table. So this is multi-MUP analysis, and typically you want to collect, most people collect 20 plus, it just depends, but at least you're starting to get some samples of mode units and getting an idea of whether the normals or abnormal values you're seeing are representative across the entire muscle or just in certain mode units. So this is multi-MUP analysis in volitional mode. I want to touch on recruitment ratio as well while we're here. I'm going to move on to AutoMUP mode and show you multi-MUP analysis AutoMUP mode next. But first I want to talk about how to manually look at a recruitment ratio. So recruitment ratio is just looking at when a motor unit is firing and the second motor unit starts coming in. You take the firing rate of the first motor unit at the time the second motor unit came in and divide it by 2, and that gives you your recruitment ratio. So I'm going to show that here and then show how we can automatically calculate that in AutoMUP mode as well. So we're moving on to firing rate analysis a little bit here. So I'm going to go back to, we can do it any view. I'm just going to go back to this view. And let's just go back and pick a buffer here. Okay, so here we have a single motor unit firing. We can see over here, we can actually adjust this to show firing rate, so we can see it firing, and then a second motor unit came in. Okay, so to find the recruitment ratio, what we want to know is what this first motor unit was firing at when the second one came in. So a nice, easy way to do this is look at our raster view. So here in the raster view, we can see a long train of those motor units. We can go back to where we just had a single motor unit firing. So here it is, and right there I can see we went from one motor unit, and then the second motor unit started coming in. Okay. So what we can do is just look at one of those, and I'm just going to, again, I don't need the trigger for this, because I can just look at one of these and say this is the first motor unit, and that's where the second one came in. So I click here, and I can see the firing rate is 10.5 hertz, and I divide that by 2, and it's just below, so 10.5 divided by 2, you're going to be just below 5 for the recruitment ratio. Depending on what publishment you're looking at, I think 5 is typically normal. There may be some different disagreement in that, but that's how you would manually calculate a recruitment ratio. So not hard to do. You can easily go into look at the two motor units firing and then compare the firing rate, the fastest firing rate, and divide it by 2 when the second one came in. But I'm going to show you an automated way to do that as well when we get to auto month analysis.